Well, this is day one of the Biodiversity Indaba that's happening here in Birchwood. And this is where all the different stakeholders come here and showcase the different wares and products that they have in store that they've used from nature source. And to talk to me a little bit more about this, I have the Minister of Agriculture, Minister Thoko Didiza, to talk to me a little bit more about this. Minister Didiza, this is your forte. We see that there's vegetables and fruits behind you. Why is it important for us to have an Indaba like this, bringing together all stakeholders that deal with nature and try and find ways to not conserve it, but turn it into different products?
It is very important because, as you know, biodiversity is really about our interconnectedness with nature. It's about people, it's about food, it's about water, it's about everything. It's about wild animals, it's about domestic animals that we eat, and it's about how we manage this ecosystem in a manner that it can give us food, but also it can give us health. It can actually ensure that we make livelihoods and turn, this into an economic livelihood for our communities. As you can see here in the stand.
Before we even go there, let's have a walk inside the stand itself. What is the stand called, Minister?
The stand is actually Ukukanya Community Property Association. And I know a lot of people know CPA as a problem. And you can see today that you've got a CPA that is showing progress. These are the community members who are producing their food on one hand, but at the same time utilizing some of the natural resources to bring some oils, as you can see here, so that people can have a variety of products that they can use. So some of them are edible, but some of them are for use, in terms of improving our health life.
And what vegetables do we have here?
Here we've got the spinach, we've got the beetroot, we've got maize, corn, yellow, we've got yellow maize. We also have got white maize that's used green mealies, but you can also use it for mealie meal. This you can use it for mealie meal, but also for fodder for animals. We also have got green pepper, pele pele. Yes, and we've got some nice spinach, green, which is very important, organic, and we've got the cabbage, potatoes, and herbal squash.
Minister, this is really what you were talking about in your speech a little bit earlier, about utilizing nature's product for communities to make not just a living for themselves, but to also help to preserve the biodiversity in their areas.
Certainly. What is important is how do we make sure that our communities can be able to provide food for themselves, but also economic livelihoods and where they can make income to be able to satisfy their needs, but also create rural economic industry that can create jobs for local communities, but at the same time bring in tourism in those areas where people can see the interface of nature and people.
And it's not just food, it's also plants that you spoke about. It's also invasive species as well that you touched on. How are we going to deal with that? I mean, the Department of Forestry and Fisheries said they spent 1.9 billion rand over the past 10 years just to try and get rid of invasive species. How will you deal with that?
For instance, yesterday or day before, you might have seen an article from Al Jazeera where they're saying one South African man has actually turned, what might have been used just as a tree for actually having coffee, which has got very little caffeine, now turned into an industry. I'm sure a lot of people might have been passing that tree before and not realizing it's of value. But if you look, there are many other plants that can be used, for benefit of health and for the benefit of our economy. One of the stands, for instance, here, they are actually using one of the sausage plants where they use the pulp for hair products. They also use some of the plants, kombucha for cleaning the gut, some of it for dishwashing. So plants can be used for a variety of reasons. And our old folks actually knew how to utilize this for the benefit of themselves. but we lost that knowledge. And that's why restoration of indigenous knowledge is important for generations and generations, because we can be able to actually find livelihoods from a number of plants, animals around us.
Very much. We're going to leave it there. Restoration of indigenous plants for communities and to use communities. Thank you very much, Minister. I really appreciate that. That is Minister of Agriculture, Minister Thoko Didiza, just giving us a real life example of how it is that communities can use their biodiversity to enhance not just the areas around them and the biodiversity around them, but to also enhance their communities and create businesses.